Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have something pretty fun and cool to get to react to and watch, which is the very first ever PlayStation 5 Pro official teardown. This kind of means we're gonna have a chance to go and see the internals, kind of see it all taken apart, and it's kind of fun because a lot of people have now had their chance to officially have their hands on the PlayStation 5 Pro, and we've kind of learned a lot of little small things about it, such as the brand new CMOS battery that's very front and center, and as well, we're gonna have a chance to go and kind of see my very own first reaction to as well, to see the internals, the motherboard, everything inside of it, and we have to go and kind of just see what happens when you go and completely rip apart a PlayStation 5 Pro. So you guys are going to go enjoy the video itself, and definitely make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have a lot of PS5 Pro news to go cover, and as well, we're getting very close to our 69,000 subscriber sub goal. So you guys also want to have a chance to win our PS5 Pro giveaway. Make sure you guys are subscribed on the channel itself and our second channel, and of course, we have the Twitters and Twitch down below for bonus giveaway entries. And if you guys do want to pick up your own PS5 Pro, all the affiliate links are linked down below, and of course, give me your thoughts and comments on everything down below. Now, we actually have these kind of same folks over here. I'm going to play the video on 1.25 speed as they kind of do the introduction and roll on out. But we have these same lovely folks out here who had their chance to get their PS5 Pro early on. I'm going to have their official video linked down below, so in case you just want to give them some love and all that stuff, you guys are very welcome to. But to the fact of the language barrier down below, I'm just going to be giving a nice little reaction, kind of talk about it, because overall, these homies are kind of cool. So if you guys are kind of curious on the big wide picture, as we're kind of like getting the nitty gritty of the video, which we may go and skip ahead a little bit, unless you guys just want to go and see the PS5 actual proper unboxing. That's why I put the speed up to 1.25 in case they do look a little bit like seamless and kind of movie groovy. But anyway, the idea behind this is that some people actually have had their chance to get the PS5 Pro in a little smidgen bit early. Different countries, especially these past 2 or 3 days, have had a chance to get their consoles, and as you guys can see from these lovely folks' excitement, they are sitting here and happy as all heck to be unboxing up the consoles themselves. I myself am very hyped up for my PS5 Pro in a few days, so I hope you guys, if you guys do pick one up, hope you guys will enjoy it. Hope you guys will like it. It seems like all these little hidden, like, neat tricks and hardware upgrades and PS4 upgrades and everything else that is slowly be coming out from all these leaks and people actually physically having their consoles in their hand like they do right here have been kind of a pretty cool nifty vibe where people are now just able to go and actually experience what the Pro has to actually go and offer. So obviously the console itself, and I'm a little bit jealous they have multiples to even go and tear on down. This is like the future of what I would love to do on my YouTube account, so major shout out to them for the inspiration. But as you guys can kind of see as they're unboxing it, the PS5 Pro, if you guys don't know, is about the same size as the original PlayStation 5. The one from around 3-4 years ago, the very first ever cycle, in case you guys just have the rough idea of what size-wise it is, in case you guys have a tighter spot, you're putting underneath the desk or table, whatever it may go and be. And as well, we are going to have the comparison too for the PS5 Slim. I do have another video up there when the time is actually for us to go and look at and see it, as they're kind of just manhandling up this PS5 Pro. But either way, if you guys have kind of missed some quick little tidbits over here, it does look like the PS5 Slim covers do not work with the PS5 Pro. That's one that we've had a chance to go and see now with the physical hands-on. So as we're looking at all this type of stuff, this is, I believe, also them kind of booting up the console itself in the very first time too as well. But basically, you can see it works. That's always, I think, a good sign. Good job to you, PlayStation and Sony. Your console does turn on. That's always a win, always a dub. But basically, for this in the video, they're kind of going through it, kind of showcasing up everything, and then they're going to get to their basically removal like right here. So we'll let it go and kind of cook. That's why I put up a little bit on the faster speed in case you guys just want to see the gloriousness of the PS5 Pro. But there's a few kind of quick notes I want to go and highlight over here really quick before we dive on in, and this is for the Slim video itself too, shout out to Dave, where we have the slightly different heatsink out there, and there is no CMOS battery. I want you guys to highlight both of these over there. Very similar layout, obviously. This is in regards to the Slim that came about a year ago, but there is a slightly different coloring, and from what we're kind of expecting from this teardown is we're expecting a slightly different heatsink, slightly different wiring, and a little bit of a slightly different layout. Right here is that CMOS battery that is a brand new takedown, in case you guys have been curious, right where my mouse cursor is. We still have that same like little weird thing right here on the bottom right too, in case you guys are curious. And this is where they kind of get the fun nitty gritty to see what's internally in there. Now, some of this will be also my very first impression with you guys, so we're all watching this together, but what I'm kind of assuming, due to a higher GPU, which basically means it's going to be outputting more heat, because it is technically working harder, we're going to probably see a slightly different reworking on like the copper wiring, aka the heatsink, inside the console itself. So that's a big thing for us to kind of go and note, as they're over here kind of showing up the actual box itself too. But look at how many consoles they have up in the background too. Look at all those PS4s, look at those PS5s. I'm a little bit jealous of the Xboxes. Like, this is a phenomenal cool thing. So anyway, that's the CMOS battery. If you guys are curious, we made an in-depth video on that. But basically, the CMOS is like the main system information battery part, which kind of gives people the information of like what date, what time, if it's able to be connected to the internet, if licensing is like all proper and legitimate. Like basically, it's a very important part, which if it does die, we kind of went in this, like I said, in a separate video, that means that the whole console is kind of kaput. It's not able to be connected online. You're not able to run games. If you bought games and let's say all the online servers go kaput, basically you lose almost everything inside your console itself. Very sad to go and see, but PlayStation did go put a nice improvement on that. So 5, 10, 15 years down the road, or technical mishaps, that has been reworked already. Now, if you guys are curious too as well, where my mouse cursor is, this is actually the SSD. Basically, you have a chance to put that over there for the SSD compartment in case you guys just want to replace it. That is standard on the PS5 and PS5 Slim. That's already there, but just some people have never actually opened up their consoles, or it might be a first-time PS4 buyer. So if you guys are a first-time buyer, good luck. So this is what they're kind of tinkering around a little bit over here for the heatsink slash like fans in the external console, which, as I wanted to highlight once again, this is actually slightly different, very similar, but slightly different than the PS5 Slim Edition. Now, obviously, you kind of have to have like the heat kind of work up, and I think the idea is it kind of goes up and then out, which is why they kind of have the heatsink out here and the fans for it. But we've also have seen them change up a lot of various things, such as the die kit, which is something for the motherboard and like all the technical parts, different types of fans, and as I mentioned earlier in the video, a little bit on a slightly different copper, basically to try to go and cut down on weight and as well as shipping costs, but as well just overall copper costs. Copper can be somewhat expensive. When it comes to all that, they actually have been slowly whittling down and making more efficient parts of the copper heatsink, basically to go and expand and get heat out and then push it on out. But as you guys can kind of see, they're kind of, I think, just counting up the fans to go and see how many different fan wheels there are in comparison and see if there's a better fan or not. Due to the language barrier, I'm not super sure, but it looks like they might actually have one right next to them. Shout out to them for just being on top of their videos to kind of get to see the big major comparison on the fans themselves as a whole. But you guys can go and clearly tell just based on the coloring, the layout, that the new fan is actually kind of slightly looking more efficient. Now, I'm assuming that due to the fact that it's like 3 or 4 years down the road, they've made another like 60 million PS5s, and it also does not seem like it even fits to as well. So that's kind of just an intriguing thing that this one is apparently also slightly smaller, although that's not really the biggest deal at the end of the day. So I'm also kind of just yapping throughout this one because I'm kind of just, I'm just intrigued. I'm as much as you guys. This is my pretty much first impression of watching. I have seen other breakdown videos too as well, obviously for like the Slim and other PS5s, and although a lot of things are usually pretty similar, it's still fun to go and see kind of what happens. Mainly because I, myself, would probably never spend $700 to take apart my console, because then I'd feel like I'd never be able to go put it back together, and I don't have trust in my skills. So I guess let me know if you guys have ever had to go and take apart like a console, like a car people. There's definitely things out there for reviews and how to fix things everywhere for fridges and all that stuff. Always fantastic. But good Lord, I'm always afraid whenever I have to do stuff like that. So you guys can make fun of me for that all you guys want. But YouTube is a good source for trying to figure that stuff out. So as they're kind of doing this video and they're doing the breakdown, they're kind of just taking it apart. They're unscrewing some things, which at the end of the day, this is kind of okay. Not many of you folks are probably going to ever kind of go through this. I don't think you guys necessarily would. So yeah, that's kind of the struggle, but that's why we like to watch other people go and do it. So once again, shout out to these lovely lads that are making this happen. So as they're just unscrewing stuff, this is where like the fun stuff happens. This is where like the actual, if you guys have never seen, where the magic happens, and where basically a PlayStation 5 Pro is basically a little mini computer. And this is where you have like the motherboards, the APUs, CPUs, GPUs, and although I'm not the most technically advanced, let me just give you guys a heads up on this one, it is still fun to go and see. This is where I'm kind of a little bit sad that there is a language barrier for the guys that are making this video, and I can't wait to react to some real teardown videos, or even, I was gonna say maybe do one myself. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like I just said like 30 seconds ago. I don't know if I'd be like go pull it off. I'd probably be like, my hands would be shaking. And I'd just be hoping for the best, dude. Like I'd be hoping I don't crack open my case or something. But I do believe that's just the heatsink out there on the very, very top, tippy top, mixed in with the console, and obviously things like the SSD and other various ports kind of have their own little lock into, so it's all fine. But this is meant to not be taken apart. And this is why it's kind of fun to see him take it apart. Because once again, my hands would be clammy, I'd be shaking, and I'd be very worried because I would just be assuming I'm going to mess it on up. So it does kind of seem like the heatsink is also slightly smaller. I'm going to see if I can try to go find a cool little spot for you guys to go and see on our other video over here. And I do believe I have it right this second. I'm trying to go live like almost like a I don't know, like a weird newscaster. But if you guys want to go see the video from Dave on the Slim, and I'm trying not to overlap this too much, I'll be able to do a quick pause whenever they have a click moment so you guys can see it and pause it yourselves. But you guys can kind of see the overall layout for the console. We have the nice little copper strip, 2 different various layers, and although there's going to be more underneath it, just for the very high base level, you guys can kind of see the rough idea of what's going on with this. Or maybe, unless I'm looking at this wrong, it looks like there's only just one individual single layer, kind of combining this all up with the heatsink right over here. It's kind of hard to see in the video itself, but as you guys can kind of look and see throughout it. While on the difference, we do have this more bigger block in combination with one more, it seems like a line. So it looks like, I'm not sure how much of a big difference it is between the two. As you guys can see, there kind of seems like there's 2 separate lines going on over there when it comes to the consoles themselves as a whole. So very interesting and very intriguing to go and see and how they're going to dissipate out the heat itself. Now, once again, I do believe there's going to be a little bit more underneath this, but this is like the main bread and butter when it comes to their heatsink itself, which also kind of intriguing in how quickly that got removed and reinserted. I'm actually somewhat concerned about that, but if they're not concerned, I'm not concerned. Whatever. Anyway, this does seem like a very, very small block, at least in comparison to what we just saw over here on the Slim side. Just to kind of see you guys some more bigger differences. Although, if you guys want to ever compare the main one from the original PS5 one, that thing was a brick. That thing was huge. That thing was very, very... not what I was ever expecting whenever you open up the consoles themselves as a whole. So once again, they're taking more stuff apart. It looks like they're looking more on the SSD side. Now, my commentary is once again pulling out the best for this. I'm kind of just yapping over this, but I don't know, I kind of like this. I almost kind of feel like I'm in the room with them being like, oh, what is this? What is that? What is this? What is that? What is that? What is that? I'm sure some of you guys have the same exact questions too as well. I just like the fact that they're taking this apart. And that's just my... I don't know, maybe I'm not a good reactor. There's some people out there, like I'm sure you guys have seen like the Asengolds or whatever, that will be sitting there and making a 10-minute video into a 47-minute long video, and then they go on random rants. I'm not usually the best, but maybe that's my Twitch streamerness for me inside. Sometimes in Twitch, you just want to go pop on your stream and watch some videos and relax, and sometimes it's just a nice vibe to go and do it. So maybe for YouTube, it's not the world's worst sometimes when it's, when it's relevant to go and do. Which, by the way, as they're kind of talking themselves in the video, I just want to give a big major thank you to all of you guys that just checked out the prior video. We had a chance to rant out to them and gave them an official link down below. But yeah, thank you guys. I've had a lot of cool brand new people throughout the entirety of the PS5 Pro saga. Kind of reminds me back of the PS5 days, although this one's a little bit more on the video/news coverage rather than the restocking stuff, which, and I'll be honest with you guys, I kind of prefer. I love the restock stuff, but that definitely was getting a lot really old really quick after around 6 months of Target restocks. If you guys are around back in the day, if you guys were, major shouts to you guys for still sticking around and popping on out. But as you guys can see, as of right now, they're getting back in the nitty-gritty of the console. This is more of like that specialty cover, more over the motherboard. Now, I'm sure most of you guys know this, and I'm probably not the best at explaining it, but for most big things, such as a PC, and a PlayStation's a very close equivalent, they have certain things such as these proper, like, covers over here to either have, like, it's more of a CPU glue to kind of teach everything together. Imagine how you kind of put together your, like, it's basically making sure all, this is, like, meant to be like this, by the way. I'm not sure how meant to be like this it is, but this is maybe, like, the more intriguing stuff, but it's kind of like a CPU glue. Basically, if you guys never use, like, basically, it's like an electrical cooling paste, for lack of better terms. If you guys ever built a PC, you definitely want to go and put all this thermal paste on side of your CPU to kind of make sure it has like a connection on the wiring, for lack of better terms, and also protecting stuff from overheating. It is a little bit weird though, that doesn't seem like there's full coverage on this. Not enough that's a big deal, because don't forget, like, there's also then kind of this like same thermal paste on the other opposite side, and it's not usually meant to be removed. Like, you're typically not going to probably be taking apart your PS5 or PS5 Pro. But I would usually kind of say, maybe I'm wrong. Whenever I build PCs, I put like a little smidgen bit more thermal paste on it. But either way, that's not like an end-all be-all. It is noticeable enough for me to make a comment on that. And once again, that is meant to be like that. It's meant to look shoddy. They're kind of basically taking parts away from other separate connections. Like, it makes, it makes sense. It makes sense. So anyway, over here, I think this is where there's kind of getting more on the proper, I guess, like APU board. This is where it goes a little bit above my pay grade. But basically, as I mentioned, they just have a lot of connectatory chips on the motherboard itself, basically making sure everything's all working together. Very similar to a proper PC. I don't know. I think it's dope to go and see. It's not the actual motherboard itself. If you guys want to look through it all, they have like their, even though their overall chips too on top of that, the model numbers. It's all around really nice to kind of go and see. Nothing super crazy, just basically you plug in, like, say, your SSDs into the APUs and motherboards and kind of go from there. It's like I said, like, it's basically like a PC. If you guys ever built a PC, it's very, very similar. Just overall. Now, granted, sometimes a little bit more specified, specifically for PlayStation itself, because AMD is helping produce a lot of these, so you can kind of work things around a little bit more. But this is very nice to see. It looks like it's pretty clean. Doesn't look like there's thermal paste outside throughout the rest of the board. Looks like everything had a proper connecting glob. Everything looks and seems pretty nice at the end of the day, so I don't really think I have too many major complaints on it. Looks like a very well put together PS5 Pro. Now, I'm very thankful we don't have to worry about there being like random goop everywhere or things leaking out. There was some old school prior drama of the PS5. Actually, like if you turn it around, that some rumors that like the thermal paste might have been melting outside throughout your console. And that was a weird saga on that one. That was, if you guys remember that day and age. Thankfully, it seems like most consoles are pretty whatever. My console's always kind of laid down, not the biggest deal, but it is always nice to see. So once again, I think at this point that might be more of the CPU, and could correct me if I'm wrong. Because I think I saw the SIE in there in the first place on the chip marking, but once again, could be wrong. But kind of nifty to go and see on what these chips even look like as they're kind of slowly taking apart everything. Now, I also would be very worried. This is where I'd be like having clammy hands, and I'd be worried I'm touching the motherboard, and somehow my sweat somehow milks into some random piece of technology, and everything gets destroyed. Now, as I was talking a lot about the thermal paste, you guys can kind of see the opposite ends and all this over here. And once again, this is the heatsink. So you guys can kind of see this from the opposite direction with everything all attached to kind of go and show how big these blocks can be. Now, this actually is a pretty girthy heatsink. Now, I was saying this is probably a big focus on the cabling to see like how much is big and different. This right here is a huge heatsink. Once again, look at that. There's like 5 or 6 different layers, I do believe, from my knowledge. That's just a huge boy, dude. That's a big heatsink, all things considered. But it does look like everything is corresponding, I guess, apparently somewhat well. I almost want to assume, I'm curious if that was the older PS5 cover over there, and they're trying to go and try to mitigate into it, mainly because we saw the other prior one that was the one individualized strip, and I do kind of recognize that from the internals from the prior consoles. Unless I missed something, that might be one of those double checkers right there. Now, I'm going to be fully honest with you guys on this one. That looks like almost like you'd put like in your car or something like that. As they have the little boxes on this one. Once again, this is where I'm a little bit above like my pay grade on this one, where I kind of wish I did know more. I've tried to do research on like the die chips and trying to more research on the individualizing, but I've only kind of ever done my own PC building myself. So I'm kind of like, once again, kind of just like seeing these guys have a little bit more of a better rough idea, kind of going and talking about it, which once again, due to the language barrier, I wish I can see, and I'm definitely going to check out more stuff. So actually over here, you can actually go and see the model number too as well. It's kind of nice to see the ingrained branding, because also I do believe saw the Sony Interactive Entertainment on the prior chip itself too as well. So it kind of looks like that's the overall shell and body for the Pro 2, which is nice to go and see. And looks like there's even like that little flap rip over there. I'm curious if that was the individualized RAM. As you guys do know, we do have brand new RAM slots, a 2 megabyte RAM just for the operating system. I'm curious if that was where the slot actually was for that. That's actually a nice little secret update that we kind of had rumors on beforehand, but nothing super crazy. But overall, like I said, this is just, at the end of the day, it's just a console, but it is a still improved console. So it looks a little bit nicer at the end of the day, so I do very much appreciate them even taking this apart in the first place. And once again, it is seemingly somewhat more efficient. We did have a few more years technically to go and cook, more so like a year for the PS5 Slim, but like 4 years for the normal PS5. So I like to see this vibe. I think it looks overall very, very nice. It looks very, very clean. Now, once again, would I ever do this myself? Probably not. Because I don't know what I'm doing, I'd definitely mess it up. But as well, I think it's kind of cool to have a chance to go and get to see their consoles at the end of the day. Now, to kind of wind down a little bit more really quickly over here on the day video, this guy's just kind of curious on the rough scale for it. This is why I was kind of curious if this was just a pre-old mentioned heatsink, although it might just be on the opposite end, because we did see that one individual strand. Well, that might just been my mistaken from watching the video. But either way, you can kind of see that a heatsink and the overall like CPU, APU, all the actual big internals over here are very similar. But it does seem like there was a slight distinction, slight difference on them. Nothing super crazy. Here, once again, you can see all the thermal paste, which, funny enough, looks like there is actually a little bit more thermal paste in the Pro. Makes a little bit sense, though. They probably made quite a few more, and they wanted to see the big differences on it. But either way, maybe it was actually maybe just on the opposite flip side. That would make a little bit more sense to you. And instead of having the one individual strand, there is two with a very similar bottom sense. That would make a lot more sense in all honesty. So maybe for my correction, for anyone who made it throughout the video, that might be on it. But overall, that is the first ever takedown for the PS5 Pro. Now, I'm probably wasn't the best commentary for it, so I apologize for that. Just want to say a major big thank you for all of you guys who have been here watching this in the first place, and of course, anyone who is intrigued in the PS5 Pro. If you guys want to check out all the affiliate links down below, you guys are very welcome to, and I do appreciate if you guys do. Also, subscribe if you guys are brand new for the PS5 Pro giveaway here, our second YouTube channel, the Twitters and the Twitch down below, and I very much appreciate you guys. Smash that like button, leave your comments down below, and I love you guys all so much for watching here in the first place.